Okay, chat. So we're gonna watch. Oh my god, this is longer than I thought it was. That's okay. We are going to watch Trans versus Conservative Men. Is masculinity disappearing in America? And this features Brandon Tatum and Buck Angel, apparently on opposite sides, but we'll see how this goes. We'll see how this goes.
Middle ground is a social experiment that brings humans with opposing beliefs together. These discussions may contain viewpoints that are the result of misinformation. Remember to seek out experts and to be critical of your own biases while forming an opinion. We see the humanity in each participant, and as always, we encourage empathy.
This video contains discussions of sensitive topics that may be upsetting to some viewers. Please be advised.
So when you say we're just redefining what being a man is, you have to understand you're redefining a fabric in society that has kept the human race and got it to where it is today.
Oh boy.
Do you see the state of our world today? It's not perfect, and it's been led by men like throughout all of history, and look where it's gone.
Facts. Facts true. That's pretty true. All right, cool. We got a title sequence.
Masculinity is disappearing in America.
Masculinity is disappearing in America.
I think that masculinity is disappearing. I think that it's a concerted effort to emasculate men. I think that some people feel threatened by masculinity and the typical way that men carry themselves, leading families and different things like that. So I think that there's an effort to mitigate strong men in America.
There's a few different ways to think about masculinity, but just looking at kind of the definition.
Max is a conservative man who doesn't feel as though masculinity is disappearing in America. Oh boy.
The term 50 years ago, you had people like John Wayne, you had Martin Luther King, you had Sean Connery. You think of like masculine features as in beards, hairy chest, big muscles, being stoic, being brave, being rugged, being a provider. Today you have people like Harry Styles and Timothy Chalamet. You have people that are completely contrary to what we were looking at back then, and those values of those masculine characteristics are completely devalued.
I do believe that.
Completely devalued? Why are you on the opposite side of this? Did they just... So they all agree? Never mind, I was wrong. I thought he was on the other side of the line, right? Isn't that how it's supposed to go? They're ruining the rules.
Especially if you look at like testosterone levels. Now the testosterone levels for guys is going down compared to generations before us.
Can this guy not be talking about testosterone levels being low, please? You have to be one of these lumberjack fellas to be talking about this.
So yeah, I agree. Hi, I'm Gilbert. I'm 24 years old and I'm a conservative man. With my beliefs and having a trans man as my friend, we don't really talk about politics. Someone being trans doesn't make me like them any less of a person.
Weird way to put that. Official witch copyright. Thanks, phone. When it has the chairs, it's the people who step forward agree. Huh.
As far as pronouns, when referring to my friend, I don't really use the pronouns that my friend would want.
Then they're not your friend and you're a piece of shit.
I say my friend or I say their name, just because I feel like I'm giving into the narrative that men can be women and women can be men.
The narrative.
I use the pronouns that they want.
You know what might be beneficial is talking to a person that you consider a friend about their experiences and being willing to be wrong about what you preconceived. I think maybe having the bravery, shocker, having the bravery to be wrong about a conviction you hold is way more manly than just sticking to your guns, I guess, and being like, no, you can't be, you trans people, no. I think maybe it's a manlier feature to be like, you know what, I was wrong about that. That's okay. You learn, man. You calling Hannah her new name was an adjustment, but you did it? It really wasn't an adjustment. In fact, the harder adjustment for me was to intentionally misgender her because she wasn't out to all you guys yet. That was a way bigger challenge to me. It was a relief to be able to use like all of her correct identifiers. You know what I mean? I didn't really have a problem with it. The biggest problem I ever have is remembering like a very specific pronoun, but that never happens. So like, and when it does, it's usually so specific that you remember, right? Like I would fuck up mixing it like fey fair into conversation, but when referencing that person, I wouldn't. Does that make sense? Like if I'm strictly going like, oh yeah, I went to the store with you know, it. Sure. I would have a harder time if we were just talking and riffing if someone had recently changed that and I hadn't worked that in yet. But I mean, like, that's like everybody, right? Just sort of how it is. I don't know.
I do see that masculinity is under attack completely, but my definition of masculinity, like you said, has a lot to do with the traits that are associated with it. As a gay man, I mean, of all of us.
The fact that you could be gay and conservative right now is just wild to me, dude.
You know, I mean, I'm not the most masculine man, but I do think that the good aspects of masculinity are definitely under attack. But
Can I ask an earnest question about a dumb thing? Yes, I haven't read this yet, but let's see what happens. Can you please explain why transracial isn't the same as being transgender? Because I had that argument when I came out to a family member and didn't know how to explain why it's not a thing. I mean, that's a really, really fantastic question. So the way that we experience race is not the same way that we experience like gender, right? Gender is sort of an expressive inner self aspect of you, something innate about you that you express, and however that comes out, you label based on, like, you know, how it matches up with other things in society. It's gender is really relative to ourselves. Does that make sense? Like gender is a very personal thing. Race is a third party thing. If you were alone on an island, you would still experience gender, although not through the lens of a society, but you would experience some form of your self-expression in whatever way that manifested. Obviously, if you were isolated on an island and somehow survived into adulthood, it would be very different than someone that's in society, but nonetheless, you would have an identity in whatever way that manifested, and it would come out, and that's sort of what gender is, right? Obviously, you know, the interaction with society is where the rub comes, but whereas race is only something that, like, is really subjected to you by other folks. And I think we mix up, there's a little bit of a mix up because it's not just an aesthetic thing. It's not just a cultural thing. It's not just a societal thing. It's not just the way you experience life if you are from that particular race. It can obviously, like you know, the big one is like Rachel Dolezal, who, you know, white, but identifies as black because, like, feels like it and stuff. Like, and I know she has justifications, and I'm happy to be sympathetic to some people that have, like, you know, like, you're just from around a certain culture. Like, you can tell when people, like, grew up around, like, oh, I grew up in a black neighborhood. And you act a certain way, and you are part of that culture, but that doesn't make you black because there's a different experience there. You could still be from that neighborhood and have that cultural identity, right? You could still be from, I don't know, whatever. Like people in my city would identify culturally when I was growing up based on which side of the bridge they were on, which was founded in racism, but nonetheless there was pride in it. And so, like, it wasn't necessarily a white or black thing, and so it's complicated. But really, what it comes down to is race is not a thing. Like, in the simplest terms, race isn't like a thing in the way that, like, your self-expression and your self-identifying characteristics are a thing. Race is sort of the way that we aesthetically organize people, right? Like, you could say that Brandon Tatum's black. I don't know who this guy is. Black. White. Brownish, I don't know, white. You know what I mean? Like, I can't really see this person well. Probably something going on. But, like, these people look so vastly different. There's no reason for me to assume that these people, like are connected in any way. But, like, society sometimes does do that. And that's what race is a very tenuous sort of relation, because we, like, go, oh, identify black aspects, identify white aspects in these three. Like, it's not the same way that you self-express. Am I making sense? Probably something going on. Yeah, I don't know. Are there any good studies on this? I don't know. I've never looked into the studies on transracialism. That helped? I couldn't put into words why it was different. Yeah. I mean, that might have been a little clumsier. I've never really answered that question before. But, like, when you just think about it a little bit and sort of talk it out, it does sound a little bit insensitive, I guess, at first. By the way, Morgan, did I say thank you, by the way? Thank you. Appreciate the sub. Google Scholar. Yeah, so a little clumsy, but we got there. Kind of got to talk it out. Anyway.
I don't think that it's disappearing, it's just being channeled in different ways.
It depends on how you look at it, because a lot of the traits can also be embodied in women and femininity. So when we look at masculinity, I think that we have to also look at what is the actual definition of femininity and masculinity. And if we're defining masculinity by being stoic or muscles or body parts, then is it really masculinity?
A lot of times when you guys spoke about masculinity, you associate it with men being manly, but I think more women are embracing their masculinity. Masculinity's still there.
By the way, we have two freshly shaven, baby-faced boy men here, and then all the trans guys, I think, except for the last one, has like more masculine features, right? You know what I mean?
Just other
like the way that we associate masculinity. Like this is. I'm not a bad-looking guy. Just saying, like baby-face.
Are using it.
Right? We got beards. Like, and I don't like Buck Angel, but
it's being powerful. More women are standing in their power, which is again associated with masculine, but it's not.
So what the point is? It's really pointless to be like, oh yeah, masculine, not masculine. Like if you were to grab J.K. Rowling out of her mansion, right, and be like, tell me who's trans right now, and she looked at this group.
Just men. Women are no longer.
I don't think she'd pick these people, right? And be like, bam, bam, bam. You know what I mean? Because you can't tell, because masculinity and the factors that we put into it are meaningless. Okay, they're meaningless. You grabbing candies? What is that? Oh, we got her ice cream. So.
I got ice cream.
Ice cream?
Ice cream.
Fine.
Okay, no, I give you a bite. Here.
Thank you. You gotta get the nut, chat.
Jesus Christ, that was a big bite.
Why haven't you do that? I want some nuts.
Oh no, you're watching this video? Fuck.
Yes.
I'm gonna go do hot girl shit.
What's hot girl shit?
Hanging out with hot girls.
That's it?
Yeah.
I thought hot girl shit was being a hot girl and doing stuff while being hot.
We're all being hot girls together.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Enjoy your participation.
Submissive, they're dominant. Women don't need men, and I think that most of America is realizing that anyone can be powerful on their own.
I believe that the masculine traits are inherently in men, and men have to take a position. You made a really good point by saying women are now becoming more masculine. They feel as if they don't need men, which I think is the problem here.
Wow. The problem is that women don't have a dependency on men?
I think that the way
it's not my position
by God, in my opinion, is that men are to lead, men are to be strong, men are to be brave. Men have to take their rightful position. The way our country has been structured to this point have been because of strong men who have taken a stand, who have fought wars. Now I feel like it's getting so lopsided.
Fought wars. By the way, chat, apparently fighting wars is good? We should strive to battle in war? How is that a good thing? I would love to know the answer to, like, what is good about, like, look at all these men fighting wars. What do you mean? Wouldn't it be better if we avoided wars? I feel like the true test of a leader is to, like, maybe not engage in violence, especially state-sponsored violence like a war, when possible. Wouldn't you care more about your people if you didn't want them to be in violent altercations at all times? Maybe I'm just a pussy. Maybe that's me being a pussy. I don't know. I'm just a little bitch. That's it. That's what it is.
Our families are degrading. People don't know where they're at in this country.
Now in 2022, masculinity is being redefined.
Hold on. What is best in life is to crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and you hear the lamentations of their women.
And I think what happens is people get upset when things start to change. No, I think that nobody ever wants to take that away from men. I think that what we want to do in the world now is start to understand what is masculinity. And it's always been really associated with this very machismo space. And now there's different kinds of men in the world. There's not just biological men. There's also trans men or people who want to be masculine.
By the way, Buck Angel is a trans medicalist and is a big fan of Blair White. Buck Angel is saying true things right now. So, based. But also, Buck Angel, don't be shitty to other trans people challenge? Question mark? Can we get it done? I once invited Buck Angel on here, and he said yes. And then I never got back because right after that was a lot of support for Blair White. And I was like, nah, never mind. Never mind. Kind of a bummer. Kind of a bummer.
So I think what's happening now is people are pushing against change because change is scary and people don't understand. And so I think men, biological men, feel under attack. And I think that's not what's happening here.
The point that you made is 100% correct. There are different phases and people are experiencing in different ways. The feminist movement is, I think they are attacking masculinity within men. I don't want a man to open the door for me. I don't need a man in my life. I can do all these different things. What they're doing is attacking men, and that's what's causing the problem.
What part of the
what? That's not an attack on men. Is not, hey, I don't have necessity for you. Hey guys, you're not a gift, okay? Like women do not need you. All right. You don't offer anything that a woman cannot provide necessarily, like in day-to-day life, dude. Like pickle jars and, well, what if there was a bear attack? All right, cool. We'll tap you in when the bears come. But from now, I think maybe work on yourself a little bit, Brandon. We can relax on the whole women just hate men.
Feminist group feels like it's attacking, because I know that most feminism is like wanting equal pay or...
Well, you just said that women not needing men is somehow empowering. You know, having a man is somehow...
You're gay! You are a gay man! Please stop telling women they must have men in their lives. What is wrong with you? What?
Less empowering, or being an individual is somehow less
But that's
empowering.
how women feel.
Right.
Women actually are saying that because that's how they feel. It's
But that's not how every woman feels.
But no one's
that's just
saying
an
every woman.
assumption
They're only
of how
women speak for themselves. So
Right.
all of you are going to have different opinions as biological men.
Absolutely.
Women all have different opinions. Oh, you see a very specific group of women saying this.
Let me you did just say that's how women feel. So are you speaking on behalf of all
No,
women?
no, I'm not. Let me take that back. The women who are saying that feel that way.
Why do you feel that women in general feel disempowered?
No, I don't think in general. No,
So I'm
that's
attacking
a general
men because I open my own doors.
I said
You're the one
women.
that-
No, I
you
did
said
not. I
women
said the
feel
women who
disempowered.
say that.
You associated somehow women are now embracing masculinity, which means that they are now more empowered because they don't need
They don't need a man.
Or
Right.
if
When
they're
men feel empowered when women need
But
them.
I don't think that women's empowerment comes from having a man or not having a man. So why is it always associated that a woman's now empowered because she doesn't need a man? A woman has always been empowered. Women have never been.
But they never felt
That's
that.
not
empowered.
true.
I mean,
That's
if
not
we go
true.
back to the 1920s.
Women have always been empowered? I think we're missing the point. That sounds like a liberal cope, to be honest, from the gay conservative fella. That sounds more like a bumper sticker of an idea. Like, women were always empowered, and it's like, yeah, that'd be nice if the relationship to a man didn't at all involve the quality testing of like a woman or whatever. Obviously, that's a good thing, but like, it's just not the reality we live in, bro. Like, it just. Women have not always been empowered, and I wouldn't say that women are fully empowered right now, as we currently try to strip away their reproductive rights. You know what I mean? Like, maybe pull back on the bumper sticker virtue signal, huh?
20s if you're going to do that, but that's not
But
what
of
we're talking
course,
about.
you
We're
have-
talking about society right now.
Right now, you actually think women are empowered right now?
Absolutely, women are empowered.
Who's the vice president?
And how long did it take for her to become a vice president?
Who's
There
the
is a
vice
right
president?
and
This is the same. They just did the Barack Obama thing. Well, no more racism, Barack Obama. Kamala Harris is a fucking vice president for 3 minutes. Well, that's women sorted. Let's move on to the next one.
Wrong way to be a man.
There's a right and wrong way to be a man. I think we should start answering these beforehand. Let's answer the question before that and then just listen to what they say and disagree when we have to. There is a right way and a wrong way to be a man. The answer to this question is simply no. There is no right or wrong way to be a man. You're a man if you feel like it. Men come in all different shapes and forms and beliefs and qualities and pros and cons. You know what I mean? That's it. I don't really know if you can say any more about it. I'm trying to think. No, there's just no wrong way. You get to do it however you want. Yep, that's the whole thing. Yep. It's a take.
Take a second to think about it.
Brandon Tatum.
I think that when I originally heard the question being asked, I didn't agree with it, but men are not abusive individuals.
What?
Men are not to be cowards. Right. Men are to lead their families. And men who do not display that, I don't believe that they are men.
Okay, wait. This flies in the face of you being anti-trans. If you can revoke the gender of a person because they're not man enough, right? Like, you have to be a certain way to be a man. Then certainly someone can invoke their own gender, right? He literally admitted to gender being a thing that you can apply or not apply irrespective of physical traits, right? He wasn't appealing to DNA. He wasn't appealing to gametes. He wasn't saying anything about like their penises or their balls or anything like that. He just said, nope, you're a man only if you fit this specific criteria of socialized behavior. So, sounds like it might be socially constructed, Brandon. Okay, that's a W for us. That's a W for the good guys. We didn't have to do any work on that one. Hell yeah, dude. Arguing for the good guys. Good job, Brandon.
In my opinion. And all of the qualities that I see in my father is what I believe a man should be.
All of those characteristics are what make a man. And when I see a man be a coward in the truth, in just speaking the truth, or sticking up for what's right, especially today in America with everything going on, I'm like, those are not men. My name is Clarkson. I'm 24 years old, and I'm a conservative man.
Clarkson? There was no way this guy had a chance to be straight, right? Anyone named Clark, really? Clark Kent? Gay?
My biggest question for the other side really is, are you happy? Anybody that wants to fundamentally change society and change gender roles, to me, that's not happiness. And if...
Why wouldn't that be happiness? I would love to talk to Clarkson about this, because wouldn't you agree that happiness and the pursuit thereof, as is an American tradition, wouldn't that be the pursuit of self-expression? Wouldn't that be the ability to be a gay man who is also a conservative and a God-fearing American? The juxtaposition of those two things that do not seem as though they should be able to live and inhabit the same body? A gay conservative man? In 2022, 2021 America? I think that you have the freedom to have such a contradicting identity is beautiful, and part of the reason that the First Amendment is awesome. And I think and I will stand by this, trans issues are almost exclusively a First Amendment issue in regards to gender specifically, because when it really comes down to it, it is expression. That's really what it is. It's just expression of oneself in the truest form possible. And if you violate that expression through governmental means, that means that the government specifically is doing an unconstitutional act, and that needs to be fought at every step. So, easy win. Republicans can agree too. All you have to do is get your head out of your ass and not be too proud.
If we want to fight for acceptance, we need to start with acceptance, which is accepting society for what it is.
That's not what acceptance is, dude. You just got the right to fucking marry your husband or someone you love because of my point of view, not yours. Like, what the fuck? I absolutely hate conservative gay folks. I do. The ones that are like this, especially transphobic ones, you make no sense. Conservative trans folks, same shit. You make no sense. Any rights you have to live the way that you are living currently is because of people that agree with my side of the aisle. You know what I mean? You can't just simply accept society how it is. That's not what acceptance means. Acceptance is individual acceptance, societal acceptance for people to live their lives individually however they choose. We only have one life. It's not about... Surprisingly, I'm a leftist. Life is not about the collective, okay? It is about the individual, but the only way to get a quality life for each individual is through collectivization. So that's the goal. But we want every person to be individually happy, not for some people like capitalism to be, well, look, all the rich people are happy, but all the poor people are unhappy. Oh, it looks like we're kind of a happy country. No. Everyone should be as happy as we can get. Maybe not as happy as a billionaire is. We'd probably be happier than that, though.
At the end of the day, we're all men, and I don't believe there's any wrong way to be a man. We're just redefining what it means to be a man.
But there are things that naturally come to men. So when you say we're just redefining what being a man is, you have to understand you're redefining a fabric in society that has kept the human race and got it to where it is today.
That's just so fucking stupid and brain dead. This guy actually can't think.
They're just like aimlessly throwing out, oh, well, we're just redefining what it is to be a man. That's not just like a light subject that we should be talking about.
But why do you think it has to stay the same? Why do we need to have the same thing for hundreds and hundreds
You
of
just
years?
can't be. You just cannot be a gay American man and make that argument. You just cannot. That exact same argument was made against you for years and still is by Brandon Tatum, the guy you're sitting next to. Like what?
It's not the same thing. It's just keeping the same qualities.
But do you see the state of our world today? It's not perfect. It's been led by men like throughout all of history, and look where it's gone.
So, we're talking about redesigning what it means to be a man. So, what do you want to bring to traditional men?
I think it's embracing that you can be vulnerable. I think that a lot of men want to portray strength.
Yes.
Men are people, and I know that men have feelings.
Being a man and masculinity, those are two different things. And I believe that we can redefine whatever that means to anybody by including other types of men or other types of masculinity.
Do you think that the Buck Angel agrees with himself here? It's only been a month, but I feel like the Twitter experience is much different.
Myself am a father, I have a child. Some people would disagree with me being a father because I am transgender. But that being said, I present to the world as male, my child sees me as a man.
There's proper ways to be vulnerable, right? You don't have to break down in front of your family and cry.
Oh my fucking God. Brandon Tatum must live the most fucking unhappy life ever, dude. Like he must just keep shit in. If you gotta cry, okay, and this is a big problem for men. If you gotta cry, sometimes you need it. That's okay. I mean, let's be real. Crying is not a super comfortable thing to do when you're a guy, all right? If you cry as a man, as anybody really, I mean, this happens to everybody, don't get me wrong, but especially as a man, your masculinity growing up, at least for all the guys I knew growing up, crying is like the least masculine thing that you can do. It's like why a lot of you might have memories of your dads or grandparents crying just like single times. I know of the few times that my dad cried, right? Divorce and my uncle dying, or my great uncle dying, his uncle. Like the fact that you remember that is actually wild. But if you think of your mom, I have memories of her crying not because she was sad, but because of like cute stuff, because of like joy, stuff like that. Crying can be scary, but it shouldn't be. That's the point. I don't cry a lot anymore. That implies that I used to cry a lot. When I was a kid, like a young kid, I was a very emotional child, and I would like emotions would boil and I would cry. And eventually that shut off. I don't remember the mechanism for that, but I distinctly remember that my dad definitely fucking hated that. He was like, you got to be a man about it. You gotta quit your fucking crying. And this doesn't only happen for dudes, obviously. Like Sarah has told me many times about her experiences with like, I'll give you something to cry about, that kind of shit. So like, you know, it's not a male specific situation. However, I don't think it involved the identity or the specifically, definitely not the gender, or the validity of Sarah when she was told that. Only the emotional validity, right? Not the like inherent validity was called into question. Whereas when you're a guy, that happens like every time. You grow up with like, that's not manly, that's not, what are you, a little bitch? Like you cry, like shit like that. And it's like, I think it's actually just fucking okay to cry. I think we should cry more. Maybe I'm too far gone. I have a lot to cry about though. I'm very fortunate, but like, you know, I think it's a good thing to cry sometimes. Poor Brandon Tatum just keeping that shit in, boiling it up. Sounds rough, man.
Okay to suffer silence as well. Strong men, I believe, exude the qualities that you guys are referring to. I think the problem is overcorrection, right? Some people believe that men need to cry and lay on the ground and be feminine. Like
That's not feminine to cry.
Women. My name is Brandon. I'm 34 years old, and I'm a conservative man. I had a lot of curiosities about what it's like to be a person who believes that they're a trans man. You know, I feel like God has created all of us very uniquely, and although I have beliefs and I follow the Bible to the T,
To the T? You shut the fuck up. To the T. No, you fucking do not.
Still want to know from other people what their experiences are. It doesn't mean I have to agree, but I really want to know what other people are feeling from the person who's experiencing it real time.
I have male privilege.
I mean, you have to walk in. I know that they're not going to, but like, let's be real. You have to.
Oh, sorry. I've lived both lives, and I can tell you firsthand that it does exist. I am taken much more seriously in my career since I transitioned as a man. Prior to transitioning, I would work just as hard, if not harder, for the same position and not be considered. The minute that I transition, I am immediately taken more seriously. I can give you an example. Obviously, with
this is fucked up.
COVID, there's like the mask mandate, right? So I have to tell customers all the time, it needs to be above your nose, right? All day. My manager, who's above me, who is a woman, will have to go to them, tell them they give her a fight. But the minute I just look in their direction, it's up. It doesn't seem like a privilege, but it is, because now my manager has to work 3 times harder for something that's so simple.
I think the word privilege is the thing that turns a lot of people off with this conversation.
I tend to agree, actually. We've talked about this. I actually think the word privilege does a disservice to the conversation about the concept. I actually totally agree with that.
But that being said, again, myself living my life as a female, pretty much half of my life, and then now half my life as a man. There is no way I could not be honest about the fact that my life has changed drastically. Also being a white man, that's also a conversation a lot of people don't want to have. But I have privilege of being white and privilege also of being a man now. I can walk into any room and command that room in a heartbeat because people just do that with men. And I think the thing is that biological men are born into that space, so they'll never ever see it. Why do we now, as women who have become men, get to have this thing? It's 100% because we are men. We look like men. Nobody would ever know. No one would ever know that we used to be women. So it's actually a real lived experience.
I hate the conversation. I don't know. The way I don't know. We used to be women is sort of a weird, very Buck Angel-y point of view.
So I agree with a lot of what you all are saying as far as like transitioning. But as a black man, privilege looks way different for me.
I was going to say that I'm not surprised the black fella didn't sit down for this one.
Because if I'm walking down the street, then I'm seen as a threat by police, by women, by anybody else. Being seen as a man is where my privilege stops and where everything else begins. So I don't see it as privilege.
Okay, I got a lot to say about this topic here. First of all, I mean, we have to be transparent and honest with each other. You know, I think that not everybody on this side presents 100% like a man.
Jesus fucking Christ, really?
Like if I saw you in the streets, I wouldn't think you were a man.
That's wild to me. I totally disagree.
You know, men have it really hard in this world, and they've always had it hard in this world. The wars have been...
Really? I mean, not that we're here to judge who passes or not, but pass? Like, what? I guess unless... dude, unless he's supposed to be like 35 years old, like, definitely not. Are you kidding me? Is it because Brandon is a little attracted or something? Oh, that might be it. Yeah, he just looks young. I don't know. Looks young. But if he shaved, he'd not look that different in age. Can we just stop pretending? Can we stop pretending that we can suss this out? Please. Please. Conservative transvestigations, please.
Been fought by men. They've died in the hundreds of thousands. Men commit suicide more. Men work more dangerous jobs. You know, if somebody broke in this place right now, who are they going to expect to defend everybody in here is going to be the men. If your family fails...
Buck Angel nodding heartily.
They're not looking at your wife. They're not. They're looking at the man. You know, I just want people to understand it. There's some advantages that men have, and then also men do struggle in custody and all kinds of different things.
100%. I 100% agree with you as a man now, right? But I think my perception of it is different than yours because you were born male, you were raised male, you have a whole other space in that, and I totally respect your opinion on that, and I believe that is a true lived experience as a born man.
Yeah, and let me add with the black man because we have a total different reality in that. I don't, in no way, form, or fashion do I go into a room and I feel like I'm less than. I think I command presence when I go into a room because of the way I'm dressed and I'm tall. I go in the streets. I've never had a person cross the street. I've never been attacked by a police officer. I was a police officer.
Brandon Tatum has never had a person cross the street on him. I mean, maybe you don't hang around white folks enough. First of all, you were a police officer. Definitely motherfuckers were crossing the street when you were a police officer. But, like, you're just a tall, masculine fella. It doesn't even have to do with what you're black. I mean, you're just a tall, masculine fella. People are across the street. It's definitely fucking happened. Absolutely. Are you kidding me? Yeah, we're just a tiny bit sped up.
You know, I've been pulled over probably 3 times in my entire life.
I mean, my biggest question with this and why I don't necessarily agree with it is because when it comes to privilege, there's not really a way to quantify it. It's very subjective. So like your version of male privilege and your version of male privilege are very different.
So it's hard to see the other side because you never lived it. Yeah. The difference between you and us is we see it because we've lived it. You have not. So it's easy to speak and be like, well, it doesn't exist. Well,
shout out Jacobs.
How would you know?
Well, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I think everybody has certain privileges, but what I think the question here is what defines male privilege over women? Because women.
The way conservative fuckboys dress drives me crazy. This drives me absolutely crazy. I hate this. I cannot stand the tucked-in shirt, the fucking dickies.
Men have privileges too. Right. So is there a graph that you guys are calculating to make men have more than women or what?
The privilege is not acknowledging what you have that comes so easy.
So do you think that your fear, because you live both sides, do you think your fear is something that you have in your mind, or you think it's a reality? Because let me say this: you never really changed as a person. You're the same person.
Right, exactly.
So you have the same physical capabilities that you did when you were a woman.
No.
You don't?
No, my strength is entirely different.
What percentage would you say?
More than 100%.
Okay,
I weighed like 100 pounds. Now I weigh like 133.
You're still not probably as strong as me.
Why do you have to be as strong as Brandon Tatum to be a man? What does that mean? Brandon Tatum went and played football. Brandon Tatum used to play football. I don't understand. Have you seen Buck Angel? Who, again, I hate the idea of siding with Buck Angel. Buck Angel is a strong individual. There's been a bit of working out. Like, I fucking cannot stand Brandon Tatum. He's so stupid. I don't know why he triggers me, guys. I don't know what it might be the jock thing. He's just so fucking dumb, bro. He's just. I wish there was something I could say about his takes that were anything more than just like he just sort of drools and goes like, "Yeah, but you're smaller than me, bro. I could beat you up." It's like, this is not the bar. You could beat this guy up too. He's cis. Buck Angel could beat up at least 2 of these. Say something nice. I hate you. Say something nice about Brandon Tatum. He's got a good haircut. I like his haircut.
But it's not about strength. It's that women are targeted. Men are not targeted. I mean, maybe sometimes. When I say it's never going to happen.
They're targeted by other men.
Right. But women are targeted by other men. I think women have less of a safe space.
I disagree. Men don't have a safe space. If you go to certain
But I'm talking
cities,
about
they get murdered by other
but I'm not
men.
talking about certain cities.
Oh my fucking God, Brandon.
I'm talking about everyday life.
Yeah, every day.
Not
I think that's a
certain
blanket
cities.
statement.
Have you been attacked as a woman?
I have. I've been raped. I've been attacked. I can go on and on and on. I was homeless, living in the streets, raped all the time. It happens. It's a real thing. I didn't see the guys on the street getting
content warning. Didn't know that was gonna happen.
raped.
But men do get raped.
100%. But the experience of
do you get catcalled down the street? Like,
I mean, women say things to me when I was a police officer.
Do you feel threatened? You feel empowered though, right?
No, I don't feel empowered. I feel that's.
But do you feel scared? Do you feel threatened when a woman catcalls you?
No, I don't.
Jesus fucking Christ.
I don't feel threatened if a man try to challenge.
Because you got that male privilege.
Right. As a woman,
what if a man was whistling at you when you were walking down the street?
I've had it happen to me. I had gay men whistle to me.
Then how does that make you feel?
I don't care.
Okay.
Right. He doesn't care. That's the point, Brandon. He's so close. That's the point, buddy.
Cool. I mean, as long as you don't touch me, we cool.
Right. Yeah, that's the point.
You may think I'm attractive. That's fine. That's cool. I
think women will say the same thing as long as you're not like trying to be predatory. And I've seen it because I go to clubs with my friends who are girls, and I have to tell the men to literally leave them alone because they keep going and they're predatory and they're literally scouting out for women that are drunk or whatever, not even drunk. She could say no 1,000 times and they're still going to bother her. But the minute that I say something, they stop.
Women are not as strong as men and they get targeted. Sure, yes, that is a privilege that men have over women, but that doesn't mean that men have privilege because of that one situation.
That literally is the case. It's how society interacts with these people. How do they not get this, dude? How do they not understand the conversation? It's like they're just ignoring the things people are saying.
Men commit suicide way more than women do.
Because if we're going to go that route, trans men commit suicide twice the rate.
But that's not
I think what's important here is to distinguish the fact that, yes, no one is negating the fact that women get preyed on. You know, there's situations where this happens, right? Like, no one's going to deny that. But we're also just trying to say that it's not like a one-sided coin here, where there's no like men are just, you know, we just have it good and we can do whatever we want.
Who said that? Again, this might be part of the marketing, the bad marketing, on whoever coined the terms like male privilege or whatever, which I do think are not good. I don't think that the word privilege is a solid thing. But when we talk about privilege, we're talking about the lack of like issues that I might have that someone else might have, specifically because of our demographic makeup, right? Like, I'm a white guy, so I don't get profiled by the police very often. And I've been in situations where police have profiled people who weren't me, or like fucking TSA, or, you know, people of authority giving me the benefit of the doubt because I'm a dude or I'm a white guy. Like, it happens. Now, obviously, there's situations where the opposite might happen, right? Like, because of who I am, someone might be like, hey, but you're white and you fell off. You know what I mean? That's just something I'm going to have to live with. But that, like having a privilege in certain situations doesn't mean that, you know, I don't have any fucking problems. No one is saying that men have no problems and have it easy and there's nothing we have to address, and if we address what's wrong with men, well, we have to talk about what's wrong with somebody else. And you know what I think? I think that's some bitch-ass behavior, okay? I think that if you're a man, Brandon Tatum, and if someone says, hey, this is my problem with this or that, you wouldn't make a fucking excuse right away, would you? Maybe we'll take the criticism a little bit to heart, and maybe we'll synthesize that information instead of deflecting and being like, hey, what about this situation instead? Nah, it's not like that. I don't have any. Maybe you're just being a little bitch about something, and that's not very fucking masculine in my opinion. I think a real man would be somebody that could take a little criticism from time to time, huh? Any ideas on a word we can use instead of privilege? Do I have any ideas? I mean, that conversation is so fucking far above my pay grade. Please, tier 3 subscribe. But it would be like... Because privilege implies that, like, you get cheat codes, which isn't the case. It would instead of being white-centered, it would just be centered on non-white folk. It'd be like basically disenfranchisement, which is words we have already. Marginalized community is already things we have. We just wouldn't center it on the people with privilege, I suppose. You know what I mean? Anyway, keep going. Advantage? Not even an advantage, nor a perk. I don't really like that. I think it's much more important to focus on what people are lacking in society than it is what people have in society. Because the bar should be how white guys are treated, kind of, right? Like shouldn't the bar be I don't get profiled by police? Shouldn't the bar be that we are all respected when we speak? And that we feel the same amount of social pressure to not be a shitlord when approached by a person, right? I mean, obviously it's impossible to delete these parts of society out of our lives, but isn't the idea? Shouldn't we strive to that? Even if we fail regularly? Shouldn't we at least strive as a society towards, like, hey, we should just try to respect what everyone's got going on, and then when they have bad opinions, that's when we can fucking engage, you know what I mean? Bad actions, bad opinions, stuff like that. But, like, you know, it's hard to do that, obviously, because we're animals. It's not, you know, it's semi impossible to never make a judgment on anybody just by looking at them, right? Your brain does it by yourself. Your amygdala is activated. You know what I mean? You're threat detecting at all times, even passively, right? But maybe getting that part of your brain that sees this guy as more of a threat than this guy, which I disagree with. I think Buck Angel is more of a threat to society. Not to say that Buck Angel is a massive problem in society, just that Buck Angel has some harmful views, and that, you know, you should be able to recognize what. You accuse me of not being able to take criticism. Screw you. That's true.
We can't even be the next Supreme Court justice because it's like.
But again, I live as a man, so I see the difference.
Only 4.
Yeah.
When I said I have privilege and I walk into a room, of course, but then there's other things that are expected of me now as a man that I would never knew were expected.
So would
of
you
me.
guys agree that there's such thing as female privilege?
Oh, sure, 100%.
My wife has privilege because she has me.
That's right.
So she don't have to worry about her
Right
safety
on.
because I'm there.
I don't believe that as a man, it's like.
Is that privilege? Let it be able to walk at night without fearing for my life, being taken seriously when I say something, or not being dismissed as crazy or menstruating when I get angry. Yeah.
Like, there's marketing for women-owned brands. I can't be the next Supreme Court justice. Like, women are very much more empowered today, which I think is, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, like, good for you. But I think that
I don't have a problem with it, but
the man I probably have privilege because I'm, 6 foot 210. Like, no one's picking on me when I walk down the street. I used to live in Chicago, and I used to walk home all the time at night. But like, was that smart? Probably not. But I felt a little safe because, I'm not 5 foot 100 pounds. I'm Max. I'm 29, and I'm a conservative man. In today's society, women and men can be whatever they want and be as successful or as strong or as big of a leader as they choose. So I'm just wondering, in a society that is so seemingly more level than ever before, why are we transitioning to different genders to find, and what are we looking for?
do you think he's asked that to a trans person before? Like, actually? I would hope that this conversation would illuminate, because if you ask a trans person that question, it'd be like, well, so I can be happy. You know what I mean? And you go, oh, okay, cool. That sounds right. You just want to be happy? Sure. I can get on board with that.
Biology determines gender.
Oh, boy. Oh, Buck Angel. Buck Angel.
So, sex and gender, people try to argue that they're different, but sex and gender actually go hand to hand. And our
No, they don't, Gilbert.
biology, being a man, comes down to every fiber within our body. So whether that be DNA, chromosomes, testosterone levels.
DNA, chromosomes, testosterone levels, and earlier, by the way, Brandon Tatum said you cannot be a man unless you abide by these societal expectations. Just toss that out there. He literally revoked someone's gender for not being, like, brave or whatever. So it's all biological, except for these specific societal things, okay? But you can't be a real man unless you're that. Okay. Oh, okay.
Bone density.
Bone
there's a whole
density.
bunch of
The bones!
factors that go into it, and it all has to do with biology.
So biology, I 100% believe in biology. Today we talk about biology being a social construct. I disagree with that as a transgender person. I was born biologically female. I always acknowledge that, and today I live as a male. Now that being said, sex and gender, they are trying to separate those things. Gender can be, I've chosen my gender. As you see, nobody would, I think, probably understand that I used to be a female. Now many people do, like you just said, believe that sex and gender are one thing and you can never change those. I'm not trying to change anything. I'm trying to show the world that this is how I feel by presenting the outside. But I think denying biology is where we get into a lot of problems.
If you want to be, seen as a man, then like,
right on.
Who are you to? I don't care. I mean,
he's so uncomfortable. That's funny.
You do you, whatever makes you happy. But I think like it becomes a slippery slope. Like, how are we going to deny basic human facts? Like, there's two genders.
I think that causes problems, and it causes problems for me.
Yeah.
Because the minute I start denying your biology, now you feel attacked by me. Right. And I don't want you to feel attacked by me. I never want you to feel, I want to be a part of, if that makes sense. You don't have to agree with my choice of how I live my life, but all I ask for is respect.
What do you have on your driver license and your birth certificate?
Right,
do you change it to male or do you change it to?
So that being said, I transitioned to live as a man 29 years ago. So that was way before you see any of this stuff, and I had to acknowledge my biology, right? That being said, my license, I travel the world. It has to say male. Can you imagine if I showed up at the airport, they're like, female? Dude, there's something going on here. But I actually got my birth certificate changed to male. I was the first person to do that here in Los Angeles. But that being said, I kind of think that it might have been a mistake to do that now, looking forward today.
Oh my God. Please, please, pick me, pick me, pick me, pick me, pick me, pick me, pick me.
Because I never thought we would be having this conversation.
I'm glad you said that because I love that people can express themselves. We live in America. it doesn't matter what I believe, what my religion is. I love that people can live their best life. I'll never, ever in my life protest or try to go against a person who wants to identify. The problem is when you begin to try to change language and you begin to try to change reality, and then therefore it changes on the children.
Don't nod. It's wrong. The children. Think of the children, chat.
And all of that becomes problematic. If a person says, okay, I acknowledge I'm born as a man or a woman, but I want to identify as this, cool, I respect that. And even if I didn't want to see it that way, and some people may be a little more ambiguous, I wouldn't never disrespect you. I'll call you by your name.
That's right.
Whatever name that you want to be associated with, I'll do that. And I think if everybody in the country can get on that same page, I think we'll see less division.
I've noticed.
Bro, it's not about you. You're actively legislating against these people freedom to do that thing and supporting those bills, Brandon. You cannot support anti-trans legislation and also say all of those words like, I don't really care. However you want to identify is fine with me. It's clearly not fine. You're telling people what they can do. Like, what? These people are fucking bananas. Absolutely bonanners, dude. Like, you care. By the way, ooh, we got a few uncobbed in chat. Strange.
And a lot of the trans individuals that I've met, the
have,
older generation who had it
the
a lot harder in society to be accepted is a lot more willing to have the conversation.
We didn't have social media. I didn't have cell phones. I didn't have computers when I transitioned. This is how you build bridges. I'm Buck. I'm 59 years old, and I'm a trans man. Because I'm an elder trans man now, and there's a much newer generation, there's a definite space where I have a different way of being than the younger generation, and why I tend to call myself a transsexual man. And I believe in biology. I believe in binary. So it really does not necessarily align with the new thought process that is happening with the newer generation.
I believe in binary. Imagine. Hey, anybody here only believe in the binary genders? You're whack. Binary. Get the fuck out of here. They're literally arguing about what makes a man, implying that there's a sliding scale of fucking masculinity and manness. Come on. How can you even have that point of view when you literally advocate, all of your arguments advocate for the exact opposite of that thing? Silly.
So I love this question. With trans folks, biology does change. Our bone density does change. Our muscle structure does change. Our testosterone levels do change. So biologically, we do change. Anatomically, now that's where surgeries come into play. So when we're talking about biology and gender that can't be changed, our biology absolutely and concretely changes.
That's true.
Not the DNA.
But our
DNA does not change.
Not your DNA? Your DNA? Ooh. Why? DNA. Fucking kill me to death. Fire me into the sun, chat.
DNA is not going to change for anyone.
So you acknowledge there's a biological difference between males and females because some people on the other side with...
Who doesn't acknowledge a biological difference between males and females? Why do we keep talking about this? Why does it matter? Oh my god. Ugh. There's a biological... I don't give a fuck. Who cares? Who cares? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. There's a difference. Okay, cool. Then they just got to do different shit if they want to transition to something or nothing. I don't know. That's just all. That's all that means. That's their body. I don't give a fuck about what the pieces they have is. Hey, chat. I don't give a fuck about the pieces that you have is. It's a good sentence. What? I'm not trying to fucking take a DNA test. I'm not going to put your DNA and sequence it in the CRISPR machine just to see if you can go to the bathroom at Target, okay? Go to whatever fucking bathroom feels right. I don't care. Why are we pretending that this is like some sort of standard? You know that DNA exists. You're like, well, what should we do? Like, you watch too much CSI? Are you worried that Buck Angel can get away with murder because he has a beard and doesn't have titties? Like, what the fuck? Thank you, Sky, for the 50 videos.
Say there's no difference. Like a
Every time
female,
you
I
get a
can look like a
mole,
girl
yeah.
not having testosterone, but I'm still a male.
Some people are male, some people are female, chromosomally. But when we start to take testosterone, our bodies do biologically change.
But what about
Said
trans men?
DNA doesn't exist. He did say that it was like a Western. Did he say it was like a Western, like myth or some shit like that? Yeah, what a weird fucking dummy.
don't take testosterone.
Then their bodies don't biologically
That means then they're
change.
biologically still female, right?
Well, and gender in itself is something we get to choose. Okay,
That's right.
just like you said.
Well, in your life, you get to choose. Not you don't get to choose it for the world, but you get to choose.
No, I get to
That's
choose
right.
my gender because I've been on testosterone for 10 years. Okay, going on 11 years.
You don't. It doesn't matter if you're on testosterone for no time at all. You can choose your gender. You don't have to do anything to validate that. Once you have decided that you are the gender you are, you're valid. That's the end of. Okay, chat. All right.
But there's some anatomy that will never change.
That's right.
Right? I mean, you still have ovaries. You still have
Yes.
the female reproductive system. You said that you had a child.
Yes, I've given birth. I no longer have female reproductive organs.
Right, but you had that. You will never get male productive organs.
Now, when you think
That's not necessarily true. We might figure out how to do that. Like, what if that happens? Now, what do you fucking appeal to? Right? Let's say there was. Okay, let's say there was. Let's just go with the magic science fiction version right now because we don't have it right now. What if you could just now you're biologically whatever. You satisfy whatever fucking hang up they have. You were born a man, a biological man, and now you're biologically female. Just like that. Snap of the finger. Do you think their opinion on trans people changes? Because I certainly fucking don't. I do not think that these people are going to be like, okay, yeah, now you're valid. No, I don't think, oh, these sickos can have kids now because of the magic spells. Because of the science. It's not natural. They would appeal to natural forever. It's a bad appeal. It's a bad argument, but it's one they're going to do no matter what. They're just lazy. This doesn't have the intellectual rigor of fucking bro. You could sit 4 stoners in a room together and they could have a better conversation than this fucking people.
Think about it.
Because
the male
of
and
fucking
female
Brandon
productive organs
and
are
these
similar,
guys.
and they're nearly the same. They're different. They're different in size.
Even if
Okay, biologically,
And they're different in
in-
functionality too.
Not necessarily, because the testes and ovaries are very much
Oh yeah, Rosalind and Flower Girl did get pins. You're totally right. We didn't even look at that. I got stun locked.
similar. One is an egg. One is a fertilizer,
But
and
we
that's
can
the
never.
difference.
But I never can produce sperm.
You're absolutely
ever,
right.
ever.
You're absolutely right.
And they can never produce ova.
And you guys are saying that gender is like a social construct. Is that what you're saying too? That you could change it? But also, if you want to be technical about it, age is a social construct. Your ethnicity and race is a social.
Age is not a social construct. What do you mean? Age is not a social construct. Age is just a measurement. A measurement of how much time you have been alive. That's the whole thing that age is. Age is not a construct. How one ought to act at a certain age is. You know what I mean? Like the idea of societal sort of no, age is not no. Age is not just a socialized thing. Age is real. How much time you have experienced relative to since we're earthlings, relative to the amount of time from the moment of your birth to the amount of time that has passed since then. That is your age. What's wrong with the social cues in chat? Social ways put on age, but in the measurement of time you've been alive isn't. Oh yeah. That's what I was saying. Yeah. Yeah, Rosalind, you get a corn pin if you want it. The base. No, years are so. Oh yeah, years are social constructs. Not really. Years are real. That's not true. Years are real. It's quite literally a cosmological phenomenon that we measure with. It's not fake. It might be fake relative to some other planet, but we're on this planet. No, it's not. I mean, you're trying to outthink the room here. You're just wrong. The base of transphobia is misogyny. I also think it's homophobia too. But yeah. If you need proof, notice that they hyperfixate on trans women because they're people born male who insult men by attempting to become lesser. Yeah. I mean, definitely there's misogyny specifically with trans women for sure. But definitely it's they always relate it to some sort of sexual desire. I don't know. It's really strange. We could choose to measure time differently based on something else. It's arbitrary. It's not really, but that's not the conversation. A lot of physicists in chat, apparently. That's not, we could choose That's not really true. I mean, yes, it is true, but like we evolved along a day-night system in a mono star like solar system that has a 365 day rotation with seasons and shit, and it's pretty reliable. Like, what else would we use? It's not arbitrary. They were environmental factors. This is not like, having studied history, anthropology, stuff like that, I mean, it's not arbitrary. Yes, we could, as a society, choose to do those things, but like circadian rhythm exists, like the seasons exist, the celestial events that happen above us exist, and we track them, and it's a reliable measure of time. That's really the whole thing. It just makes the most sense. It could be more convoluted, sure, but that's not what societal construction is. The societal construction would be how one interacts with the idea of age, not that age exists. You would still be exactly the same age you were if we measured by moon cycles versus years because of the sun and our orbit of it, right? You'd be exactly the same age. Your age doesn't change. Just the way we describe it would. So, thick cob for Roslyn. You got it? Boop. Yeah. I win another one.
Construct, and I'm Hispanic. I can't say I'm Chinese because I like Chinese food. I could bleach my skin all I want. I could wear Chinese clothes.
No, race is not. How is ethnicity going to be a construct?
There's all social constructs.
So how exactly?
If you look up, is race a social construct? Ethnicity a social construct? Is time a social construct? Right. Everything's a social construct.
No.
If you want to think about it that way. But we have set truths, and we can't change those truths. If you want to say you're trans man, that means you're a biological female that thinks that you're a male.
I am a biological male. I'm an anatomically.
See, anatomically, I'm still right. And I think it's really important that you understand we're all going to have
it's anatomic, views. Okay? Because biologically, I have shifted. Okay, trans meaning going from one to the next.
Biologically and all these things.
But again, you don't need to biologically shift because that's a transmedicalist point of view, which is why Buck Angel was like, "Oh, that sounds right." It doesn't. It doesn't sound right. Again, gender is a societal thing. It's just about your self-expression, and then however you describe that in whatever words you use. This is all going to settle eventually down the line if we all survive for another century or something. Transness and everything like that is going to be, a relatively old topic, and people will likely just exist however they exist. And we'll probably get away from very specific pronoun usage because it won't be as useful, and people will be like, well, I mean, we don't have to be that specific about it because the idea, we need to identify our very specific genders right now because we emphasize gender, specifically the binary of it, so strongly. Does that make sense? And so it's kind of like, you're not going to need to qualify as much, and so you'll probably see the behavior of qualifying your gender and really thinking about it to get really specific on it. You'll probably see that fall away a bit because usually that's due to the pushback, right? Is to claim that identity, and then it becomes a little bit more casual. Now you still have that, of course, like and how hopefully in 100 years I don't even recognize how we talk about gender, but like you kind of see it how we socialize if you don't have any transphobes in a group, if you don't have any, and you just talk amongst a bunch of like in chat here, and we don't talk about trans people at all, and gender doesn't come up all day. We're just folks, and it doesn't come up at all. Because we don't care about it enough to argue, right? Like you all are valid, and that's what it is. And we don't even bring it up. You're all people, and we don't like if there wasn't like this negative influence on the conversation, we would never really have to talk about how we identify because you wouldn't feel the need. You wouldn't have to find validation because you'd already have it. Does that make sense? Right? The dream, it's the dream of just normalization, right? As normalization spreads, and it does in this chat, especially when we don't have any chuds in chat. I definitely forget. I don't think about it. Yeah, literally, that's how things were for certain cultures before colonialism. Of course, yep. And that's kind of the idea. Like, if you just shut the fuck up, like they're like, why do we have to talk about gender all the time? Because you're trying to legislate against their freedoms. That's why. What do you mean? You caused the conversation. We could literally shut up about it and it would never come up again. But we're hitting a whole new gender renaissance. Oh yeah.
Things. I know that there's importance for you guys, but meeting
Just
me or
sleep for like
seeing
an
me, you
hour
never know.
minimum,
So
so.
why is it important?
Well, no,
Like,
because
you know,
no,
like,
just say,
I'm just
say if I was a
curious.
woman, just say if I was a woman and I wanted to date you, what are you going to tell me?
I would tell you that I'm trans. What do you
No,
mean?
no, I'm saying you can't tell me that you're a man.
I mean, I'm still a man.
No, but
I'm
you
a
got to tell
transgender
me.
man.
You got to tell me that you were born a woman. You have
I
to.
mean, I don't have to.
Well, because if I go down, if I see
Right.
you in your pants,
Right.
I'm going to see something different, and that will be troubling to me
Right,
if I had an expectation.
But again, this is like leading off the topic, but I mean, to answer your question, if you must know, I do tell the person that I'm talking to or interested that I'm transgender. I don't think that you need it to, you don't need a penis to be a man. I know that you may disagree, which is fine, like I get it, but I don't want one.
Now, I have a question for
But I
all
don't
of you.
want ones. Respect. Hey, this is not a thing we ever talk about, which I think deserves a little bit of a spotlight every once in a while due to the way we enforce binary. Are there any what we would consider like a binary trans man or woman, right? You identify as a trans man or a trans woman, but you do not have any connection whatsoever to what would be the what Brandon Tatum would consider the correct genitalia. Like if you're a trans man, do you feel the need to have a penis? Like, is that part of it for you? Or are there some of you who, like, the genitals aren't really much of it? Like, I'm interested in that. Yeah, Brandon sucks. He's dumb. Let's see. How many people are tied to that? Because it's sort of a, if you impose it on other people, it's transmed, really. But if you impose it on yourself, that's just like how you want to be. You know what I mean? Creamed? Are we creaming the pin? Looks like Heart's winning right now. Most of the time, gender comes up in chat is to explain life experience, not to try to prove validity, which is super cool. I agree, yeah. Even when I thought I was a binary trans man, I had no feelings toward my bottom genitals, only my top part. Interesting. That's nice. It's nice either way, really. I feel like Hannah, for instance, very much so, feels a strong connection with, I guess...
her ramble was just a gorilla.
Trying not to be crass. I was gonna say, her eventual puss, but I mean, she does. She feels very strongly about that, and she talks about it with excitement whenever it comes up. And it's interesting because I have trans friends, I have trans fans, and then just broadly community where trans people interact. And on the one hand, I feel sometimes you ever feel bad for somebody while they're waiting for something to happen, and in this case it'd be Hannah waiting for bottom surgery, right? Or any other trans person, really. You feel sort of bad that they even have to wait. But also, there's that feeling of like, fuck yeah, do that. You know what I mean? That makes sense? I think it does. Reminder, you can put any pin of your choice on Jake for 1,000 biddies. That's actually true. I'll put the heart one on right now since y'all voted for it. And we had 2 unlocked. Always disclose to partners first, but it's often the men insecure about their own masculinity that keep saying they don't want no gay stuff while also propositioning gay stuff. I like femme people. I'm not a big fan of peepees as far as a sexual thing, but I like if my only intention was to make out with a hottie, it wouldn't matter to me. You know what I mean? Sexually though, I'm not attracted to the ding dongs. But then that just means I'm not for you, and that's fine and valid. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to be. Nor do you have to be for me. I'm not for everybody. I'm certainly not I'm not a skinny fella. You know what I mean? Some people are turned off by that. You don't have to like me, how I come, But I'd like it if you did. And that's just how it goes for everybody. Where should I put the heart one? Probably over my heart, huh? Down here somewhere? Put it down here. You're a catch, Jake. Just admit it. I would never admit such a thing. Never, ever. No to ding-dongs? What about nutty bars or cream pie? I love a cream pie.
Do your penises make you men?
Yes,
Well, it's
biologically.
part of our,
Like,
it's part
no,
of what
that
makes me a man.
is
Yeah.
that
If you
what
lost your
Being
dick,
a man's ingrained within every part of your body. So our cells are
Right,
yes, our
but
penis
if
too,
you
someone
had
goes
to, if you
You ever feel manly because of your cells, chat?
had to look at the difference between us and between you, now would that difference be the lack of a penis?
If we were naked.
Okay,
I mean,
so if we're
naked-
gonna minimize being a man to that particular anatomy,
we didn't minimize
No,
it.
I'm asking the question. Okay, if we minimize it, because this is where we're going, is anatomy, right?
True.
Because that's where we've gotten.
Our basic
Okay,
biology, yeah.
so if we get there,
Each of my cells has a penis. Good.
do your penises make you more men than us?
It's part of
It's
what
not making
does.
more or less. It's we're a biologically man. You're not a biological man.
It's not a spectrum, so
from-
it's not a question that we can answer because you're saying on the spectrum, would this make us more of a man than you? But no, it's because we are a man and you guys aren't.
Well, we're different.
So
men.
we're not men.
We're
Is
different.
what you is exactly what you just said.
In my view, you
How? You would walk past the... Dude, the point is not the philosophical, do I really think you're a man thing. I'm fine if you treat trans people right now, like as a stepping stone, societally. If you're otherwise what I would consider a transphobe, and you're like, you're not valid, but you just treat somebody like they're a man, right? Like a trans man, you see a trans man down the street, and you just go, hey, fella, and that's it. That's your whole interaction. You're like, that was a man. I don't care, okay? I also don't care if your internal monologue is, you're not valid, right? As long as you treat people a certain way. Your internal fight with your transphobia is your thing. I don't mind if you hold on to transphobia as long as you don't act on it, right? Because some people, I mean, you can't legislate how they fucking just feel and think, right? I can legislate, well, not legislate, I guess. I can interact with how you fucking act, though. And when you start acting transphobic, that's when I have a fucking problem, right? Like, that's my big rub here. And I just don't, I don't know why we're doing this. These conversations are always so bad. Jubilee is a train wreck sometimes, man.
you guys are appropriating the gender and you are living as a man, but biologically you are not a man. So to me, it's not, you can't say, okay, well, does that make us more of a man? That's not even a question to ask because you're not.
Right. I don't know how you could do a dick check just on the street.
Biological man.
Doesn't matter.
When it comes down to asking questions that make me
Don't
start
nod, Buck.
to change what the truth is and what the truth isn't, putting it on a spectrum when it's an objective truth, that's where I draw the line.
What's the biggest problem with what he said? It doesn't make what you feel any different. The biological truth is the truth, and why can't that be the truth? And you also say, but I feel like on the inside that I'm a man and I'm going to present that way.
The argument is that people try to invalidate who we are with that. I'm not saying that you guys are doing that, but a lot of society in the world does that. Well, biologically, you're female. What hurts trans people that people don't realize what they're doing is it's very harmful. You got to be aware of what you're saying, what you're putting out there. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's why I think we all agree. We would never try to offend you or anything like that. To be honest, if I saw any one of you in the streets, I don't care. It's not going to bother me that you want to.
Right.
I would know unless I pulled your pants down or something.
Right.
Why is he weird?
Why do you feel like you have?
Unless I pulled your pants down. Just him saying that to a group of trans dudes is so weird to me. What if I just pulled your pants down? Like, what the fuck? God. Ugh. The lack of like respect. Very obsessed with genitals. Yeah.
Have to present the way you do, facial hair. Could you
right.
be a man without having facial hair?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you feel like you're a man.
I'm in the early stages of testosterone. I haven't hit 1 year yet. But personally for me,
Really? Doing a good job. Seriously, just look like a young fella. I would never think twice, ever. In fact, this is a likely situation where I might accidentally default and like I would say like, "Oh, hey man." And then this person could be like, "Oh shit. You misgendered me because I see mask here." You know what I mean? Like I would just assume. That's my bad. That'd be on me. I mean, I'd be right here, but like, you know what I'm saying?
I crave, having a full-on beard like these fine gentlemen and you guys are. Like I crave it, But I do believe not having like this little small peach fuzz I have going on, it does make me feel more dysphoric. It makes me feel like, oh, this is how I presented before transitioning.
Do you feel like it's something that has gone wrong at birth? Like, you're born and you say, well, genetics and evolution says
Right.
this. Why do I feel like this?
Yeah,
yet
I mean,
I have
I think
this?
questioning it was something
I mean, I
that
call everybody bro, so I definitely misgender people on accident sometimes just because I say bro. But, yeah. Hey, bruh.
I always wondered because sometimes like, people say like, oh, like it was a
time.
choice, which I hear a lot on the other side all the time. Like it was a choice. I was legit born this way. Like I could remember from I think 4 or 5 years old where like I didn't feel like a girl. You know what I mean? And I can't tell you why that happened. It was just my path in this life, and it's something that I honored. And you know,
This changes nothing about Brandon's point of view on this. Just being told, yeah, about 4 or 5, which is pretty much every trans person when they look back on it, almost to a T, says, yeah, I noticed this very young, and it, you know, maybe I didn't have the language for it, maybe it didn't manifest in the way, and then now I've sort of figured out, oh, I could point to that and go, oh, that's why I was feeling that way. That doesn't happen for everybody, but it happens for a lot.
It was really hard for me to continue living, especially when puberty.
I said to a T. I was exaggerating.
You know, like time of month comes in, obviously anatomy changes, like, and that was the biggest thing for me where I knew that, like, okay, I can't do this. It's like you're not in your own home.
I say dude and bro.
Children should be allowed to transition.
God damn it. Of course, we're going to have this
I was going to say, I
conversation.
find it very interesting that you and I are the only ones that stepped up, especially since we're younger. And
You should allow children to feel what they feel because
Yep.
I felt the way that I felt for as long as I can remember, and it's something that I cannot deny.
Yeah.
You know, although my mother is supportive, when I was younger, I wasn't allowed to wear boys' clothes because that wasn't right. Now I know we're talking about transitioning. It doesn't always have to be hormones. It's like transitioning in society. So
Yeah.
being able to dress more masculine.
True.
I did when I was younger, but as I got into middle school,
Dude, I really fuck with him. I'm really enjoying his perspectives on all of this.
kids change, people are mean, so you know, I dressed how
So
I would in
far.
society, so I dress like a girl, whatever, but I think that children should be allowed to express themselves in whatever way makes them feel comfortable.
kids are struggling to be who they are, and they're
Bro, a younger, okay, this is just, I'm gonna have to just type this into chat. I was like, man, this person looks really familiar to me, and he does, and he looks like a younger, like relative of Killian Hayes, who was a basketball player. Shut up, Jake. He's doing a jock thing, but he really does. So let me get you like a picture of Killian. Here we go. Look at that. Look at that. Like just related, not like the same, but like Killian Hayes. Right? A good-looking young fella. Oops, I gotta open my close my other windows on accident. Whoopsies. Whoopsies. Boink. Yeah, it's the eyes specifically. But yeah. Anyway. It was bugging me.
there's more racial.
You don't see it? Really? It was just the eyes and like the eyebrows. I know Killian has like really strong eyebrows, but like the eye shape and just sort of like
suicide for
like a
trans
vibe.
individuals because they're like there's literally being laws put in place to prevent them from being who they are, and that's not right. That's not right.
Bit of a stretch. I disagree.
Okay, so I work with children. This is where I have
like a younger sibling or cousin or something. I don't know.
the biggest problem with the trans stuff is with the children because people, like I'm sure you guys would agree, you want to inject them with the hormones to stop their puberty, their normal puberty. They haven't even developed the prefrontal cortex yet, and you want to stop their natural puberty from occurring to affirm their gender, and then later on they regret it. I think that's not a good thing.
Like this guy looks like Will Witt's dad.
See, that's why this is a loaded question, because transition can mean many things for children. Now, I totally, as a transsexual person, disagree with giving children hormone blockers, medication, surgery, but what I do agree with is socially transitioning, which means what? Because I did that, okay, and I did that in the 60s and 70s. My parents dressed me like Buck, I was a boy, you know, I didn't have any problems because I just lived, we used to call it a tomboy, right? So that was totally, and I went through puberty and I did all the things. I do not believe children can make those choices, and I do not believe it's okay and ethical for a parent to make those choices for a child. But I do believe gender dysphoria exists in children. I had it, 100% it's there. But to give medication to a child is so unethical to me.
Medication to a child. I hate that we have to fucking do this all the time. Puberty blockers are fine. It's reversible. It's not harmful. And in fact, studies show that if a child is experiencing dysphoria, going through the wrong puberty, which was what would happen if a trans man, for instance, went through a young lady's puberty, right? Like a fucking like periods and shit. Imagine, like I'm a cis guy. I cannot imagine going through the wrong puberty, right? Like that would actually give me dysphoria. You know what I mean? Like if I was forced to have the wrong puberty growing up, like that sounds terrible. Why would you ever make someone do that? It's just barbaric. Buck is wrong. Trans rights. I love all of you. I just love your faces.
That you would actually, you're exactly what you said, you're stunting brain growth, you're stunting all of these things. They don't have enough research on it. So I'm in agreement with transitioning medically for children is not okay for me, but I do believe in a social space.
When you say a social transition, it's interesting to me because we can't control what happens in a social situation.
That's right. That's right.
So to me, and we talk about suicide rates among young trans people, this whole ideology is telling people to derive their value off of what somebody else is saying about them or what somebody else affirms to them. So we say that, you know, society...
That's not really what's happening at all. It's not saying they only get value when other people validate their gender. That is not the argument that trans people make in regards to transitioning. The argument is, if you invalidate me, that hurts me. Not that I need validation and crave it or I will wither and die. It's that I need to not be invalidated constantly. You will get normal amounts of validation from people is all we're asking for. For trans folks, normal validation, your name, your pronouns, and just general respect. That's really all it takes. It's not above and beyond. Everyone says he, him, and Jake for me. It's never been a problem for anybody. I don't see why it has to be a problem for anybody else either. That's the whole thing. Just normal validation that everybody else experiences. That's the bar for trans people.
Is the problem, and we're not allowing people to be who they are, and that's why they're committing suicide. But maybe it has to do with the messaging that we're sending to these kids, that you derive your value from if somebody uses your correct pronoun, or you derive your value if this person accepts you for wearing a dress. Be who you are, but tell them to be empowered about it and not get that empowerment from somebody else.
I feel like that's really kind of inconsiderate to say that someone would take their own life because what someone else says. To somebody, that is important. To somebody, I know have friends who their family does not use the correct pronouns and they've transitioned, they live in the same household. This person struggles with depression and anxiety. Could you imagine living in an environment like that where you're no longer validated? That's coming from your own parents.
But if you...
It's not about validation. I wish you wouldn't have used that term. Can you imagine not being validated? No. Can you imagine being invalidated? You're constantly invalidated. Your identity is in question at all times. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous situation for anyone to have to deal with.
Base your validation off of other people. This is a hard truth, but if your sole validation...
No, you definitely have to do it. Listen, I could give
people,
a shit when everyone thinks about me. I do what I want. But for everyone, that's not the case because everybody has different personalities.
Right, but that doesn't make it any... That doesn't mean that
but still,
we should be
what you're not
acknowledging,
what you're not acknowledging, though, is that in that environment, it is not supported.
I'm acknowledging that. I'm just saying that we're saying that for some reason they should look for that validation from somebody else.
When you love somebody and you have a
within.
family, you want them to
But
validate
you're focusing not on the individual, you're focusing on the people outside of that
yeah,
individual.
But the individual,
I'm focusing on empowering that individual.
But part of being a person is needing to...
How can you empower How is an individual empowered? They must learn empowerment. How do you teach self-empowerment? Chetney, or whatever the fuck that guy's name was. Carlton? Bradford? I forget his name already.
Her ramble was just a gorilla.
Chutney. You cannot be empowered if you're never validated, my dude. Ever. If you're invalidated constantly in your identity, you will not feel empowerment. Where does this motherfucker think that you get empowerment from? Empowerment is not only a self-fulfilled, like an individualistic thing, and certainly not kids, right? Kids are not able to self-empower themselves and just buck up and get through it. There's no way this fucking guy grew up without any homophobia lobbed to him, right? And there's no way that didn't hurt his feelings at any point in his life. It's just not possible. I don't know how you don't apply that experience with trans people's experiences. I don't know, man.
Be validated. You don't need to be validated ever in your life from your family or your friends.
I get my validation from within, and then the
right. But if we're talking about children, okay, if we're talking, okay, I was an 8-year-old when I found out that I wasn't biologically male, right? I was 8 when I found out that I wasn't the same as my brothers. Okay, and so going through that process, I attempted suicide 4 times because my mother was like, "Well, you are a girl." When you're 8 and you're 12 and you don't have anyone else that is in your space, when you don't have anyone else that lives in the same house as you to tell you you're okay.
This is also true and poignant, and I hope that he reflects on this because I can't imagine being a conservative and a gay person was easy.
Where are you supposed to go? How are you supposed to garner your own self-validation if the people that are raising you don't validate who you are?
As a father, you know, my duty is to raise my children the way I believe is right. And if my child somehow struggles with this, which is fine, we'll have that conversation. But I'm going to let it play out the way I believe it should be played out. And at 18 years old, you can do whatever you want to do. If you don't want to wear dresses, that's fine. I mean, just wearing it, if you want to dress like a boy, don't make you want to be a boy. Don't mean you have to be a boy. My mom was a tomboy, and my mom had me and my brother, and she's a woman, you know, and she lives like that. But, you know, you may want to dress a little different. Maybe a boy want to do cheerleading or something like that. Right. But that don't mean you need to transition to something else. So I want that to play out until my child is old enough to make.
Okay, but would you tell your child that their name isn't what their name is, and that they don't have the correct pronouns, and then they can't have their hair a certain way? Like, what if your kid wanted to be a woman, right? What if you have a son and he wanted to be, and Brandon's like, my son wants to be a girl, but he's not a girl. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to let your child live her best life in that scenario? You know what I mean? Is that going to happen? Are you going to validate that child's fucking point of view on their own body and expression? I don't know, man. Stick it down my thanks phone.
Make that decision on their own. Also, you have to teach your children to have balance, because if you just want mommy and daddy to acquiesce to everything you want,
that's not acquiescing.
It's not reality. You have to understand that mom and dad may not see me this way. They love me. I see myself this way, and I disagree with how they speak to me or how but I love them as well. I love, like, my son.
How can you possibly say that you properly love someone if you mistreat them? The idea that you love somebody while you treat them poorly and don't give them what they need. You know what I mean? Like, if you can't give them what they need, sure. But this is not a situation like that. If you need love and affection and validation and to feel safe and to feel wanted, right? Then you should get that from especially your family. That's what love is. That's actually what love is. Now, some people can say like, "Oh, I love you." I don't know, man. There's love, and then there's like real love. I know we say we love people a lot. We throw that around a little bit, and to a certain degree, it's true. There's people that, you just love your friends and shit like that. But like a child, your child, or your loved one, or your partner, like once you actually love somebody, like in a way that's like profound, in a way that like if you lost them, your world would change forever. Like, that's real different, man. Provides them food. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that Brandon Tatum loves his children enough to where if they died tragically, he would be pretty fucked up about it. You know what I mean? And rightly so. That sounds terrible. That's a different, profound amount of love. Shouldn't that also, like, wouldn't you also want them to be happy? Like, day to day and feel happy at all, like, not at all times because you can't ensure that, but like as much as possible. Isn't that like the goal for everybody? Maybe I have like some sort of like different perspective on this, but I feel as though the goal of all parents, and frankly society in general, should be to ensure the happiness of themselves and those around them, right? Like, that's the goal. That's the dream, is just to make sure that everybody is happy as you can get, as you can be. And that doesn't mean we're all going to be perfect or anything, just striving towards happiness. We're going to have bad days. We're going to have difficulties. We're going to have disagreements. We're going to have violence. We're going to have war. We're going to have sickness and all that other stuff. But, I mean, we don't necessarily have to have war. But we'll probably have war for a while. I don't know. Maybe this is just like a worldview thing, but I don't think we need to fucking burn everybody in the crucible to make sure that they turn out to be a good person. Like, people face difficulties no matter what. It's not like you're coddling somebody if you're just fucking kind. It's a very strange standard to have. Kindness is not coddling, chat. These are not the same things.
If he
happy as the cackling goblin in your house is damn right.
And I'm a Christian, and I don't believe in homosexuality. I don't. I respect anybody that feel that way. I never, protest you at all. If my son came to me, it would be a struggle for me to want to go to his wedding. I'm just going to be honest. But I think that...
Because you're a bad parent, bro.
My son should understand this is the way my dad feel. I love him. This is the way I feel, and we have mutual love. And that don't mean I hate you. That just mean we disagree. And I wish that same sentiment would be, and I think it's the same on this panel. Like,
your child and his husband should fucking hate you. Yeah, you're a trash bag. No, you don't deserve love. You do not deserve the respect of your child. You fucked a little bit, and you made a baby. You have to do a lot more than just the bare minimum of existing to get love and respect from my ass, and certainly from anybody else, in my opinion. Like, what a trash bag of a human.
Like, there's no hate in any of this. Right. I love every single person on this side, and we may think of things different.
You think that's love? I pity the shit out of Brandon Tatum. This man doesn't know what fucking love is, dude. Man, I don't know. What does he think love is? If I love you, okay? If I love you, there's not a lot I'm not willing to do to have you be happy. You know what I mean? I think that's important. Now, it might be not easy, it might be a struggle, might have to have conversations about whatever that might be. Might have to work at it. Might not be simple, but I'm going to try. I'm not a dad. But god damn it, dude. I don't know how, like, just the thought of, like, having someone you created, which I don't have. Having someone you created, and then not trying to facilitate that person's happiness when you're able to. Like, not going out of your way, but like, hey, mom, dad, you want to come to my wedding? I met me and, whoever are getting married because we love each other and we want to do that. Why do I care who your partner is? As long as I think that you and that person, like, should be together, right? Because like, are they good to you? Do they treat you right? Like, I'd be pretty critical of that for sure. But it wouldn't matter, like, the genders, the sexualities of the people involved, man. Plus, I'm really fun at weddings, and so any opportunity to go to one sounds like a good time to me. You'd love me at your wedding, chat. You'd love me. Cleanse? I can't watch TikTok videos. They're too loud. I'm never going to click on one. It's never happening.
Differently, but we love each other. It can't be one-sided.
I am lucky. I'm 41, and I'm a trans man.
41?
One of my greatest fears as a trans man is my life being taken from me.
Good looking
because
41.
I'm a trans man. Transitioning in a black neighborhood with gang members as neighbors, they weren't having that. So the more that my body started to look a lot like theirs, I was challenged on a regular basis. I was beaten up because someone recognized.
I agree, Kira. Thanks so much for the $10 dues. That's very kind of you. Thank you. Trans rights are human rights. Hey, can we get some copies? That's a good looking 41, I agree.
Asked me from prior to my transition and approached me and confronted me and called me a liar and told me I was a bitch. And I, out of safety, was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they cold cocked me and I lost a front tooth.
I grew up with a positive father figure.
Uh-oh. There's 100% chance all the conservative men walk here, right? Because no matter what, they're not going to address their daddy issues. They've all acquiesced to their daddy issues and have given up. There's no way, right? Maybe the gay guy. No way. Brandon Tatum will not admit to that. Right? Let's see. Yeah.
This is good.
One person didn't have a good dad. Good.
Yeah,
I think for me it's surprising.
I do not walk in this situation. I'm standing over here. Well, I guess I'm not concerned. I'm standing right here in the back.
Because
that's good.
Believe that a woman or a person who's born as a woman who now identifies as a man didn't have a positive role model as a man, and therefore they felt somewhat insecure as a woman, which makes them, feel a certain way and want to be a certain different person. Maybe they want to be the man that their father never was, or whatever the case may be. And so it was very interesting. I mean, being honest, it was interesting to see pretty much a majority of you guys come forward.
That's so great. I think that's really important that you say that, because I do think a lot of people probably feel that way about guys like me, right? That our fathers we didn't have the right upbringing. Or my father was amazing. I grew up really like a little boy. I always felt like a little boy. My parents actually raised me, and I'm 59 years old. So that was in the 60s and the 70s when we didn't even talk about this.
Yeah, but Brandon thinks that's a bad thing. You know what I mean?
Parents actually felt it from me. So I think that that's a misconception that people think about people like us.
Any good father pushes their child to, one, feel self-love, and to feel like they can be who they want, do what they want, and have life of liberty in the pursuit of happiness, right? Like our founding fathers. And
I fucking love conservatives, dude. They're so fucking brain dead. He just drooled life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness out of his dumb mouth. Oh, I believe. Shut up. Come on, bumper sticker ass. God. He's like he's blank inside, bro.
So, it's fatherlessness, or, having a missing dad is one, a pandemic on its own, and it's one that obviously I'm sure Brandon can attest to. It's so critical to have a father in the house, because kids get lost when they don't have one, and having a father that's loving and strong.
I'm sure Brandon can attest.
And someone you can rely on.
Wait,
the reason.
Why are we pointing at Brandon for attesting? Is there Brandon lore I don't know about, or did he just point at him because he's black?
Why we're all comfortable with who we are.
I had several different father figures in my life, so it wasn't I had a dad, but then I had my grandfather and I had my uncle.
Dude, I wish I had family shit like that. I did not have that. Definitely did not have any of that community growing up. I had some neighbors and stuff. We had people over once in a while, but my dad wasn't a good fucking role model.
It takes a village to raise a child, right? But all
that
of those
motherfucker
different
thought
perspectives
one
raised me
thing. He thought, and probably some of you with that would not have sat down here with some what they say daddy issues. My dad definitely thought that buying food and a house was that was it. That's fatherhood sorted. You know what I mean? Yikes. Didn't have any of that other shit. That would have been cool though. I actually have never had a man that I looked up to for any long period of time. Does that make sense? Have any of you gone through zero? I've actually never had one. Have any of you had one? Like an adult man as you growing up that you're looked up to? I didn't have one. That was in my life. I had heroes or whatever, big Michael Jordan fan, Grant Hill back in the day. I didn't have that shit. It's weird. You think I would have ended up a little more fucked up, I guess, huh? I didn't have a good stepdad either. Although, I didn't really have a stepdad. Technically, I have a stepmom, but we don't talk. She sucks. They got married when I was an adult, though. It doesn't even count. You know what I mean? My dad's side's feral? What the fuck? 10 years older but no adults? Well, your brother counts. I think 10-year older brother kind of counts.
As a well-rounded human. If we take the masculinity out of it, just as a human, I got to see different perspectives. And so now as a father that has given birth to a child, and that child being male, right, I'm able to raise him with those same ideals that I'm able to identify because of the father figures that I had.
I didn't have my father growing up. He was...
My mom's dad died when I was a baby, and my grandfather on my dad's side is just like him.
Not present in my life at all. So it showed me that some men can't step up, like my grandfather and my stepfather, who have taken me in and showed me how to take care of myself, how to be, strong and dependable. And all I've been able to do is give more love to all people that I interact with.
Right.
So it was really important for me to have those figures.
I think this is a really important thing to show people that are watching this, because a lot of times I feel like we can blame any issues in society or anything that arises on the generation that came before us.
This guy's such a fucking... God. This guy feels like you just fucking walk all over him, doesn't it? Drives me nuts.
So any issues that arise in our society, it's there's not always a reason why it's happening. We just need to address the issue and solve it.
I grew up with a lot of women. My parents were divorced and I lived with my mom. I had my aunts. So I was raised by women, but my dad was there sometimes, and then my stepdad took me in as his own, so I had my stepdad as a father figure.
I grew up with all women as well. My mom used to tell me I have to be your mom and your dad. So like there'd be times where I got both. Like she was super sweet with me or really strict on me, and like she taught me a lot as well. Like growing up with women, it taught me a lot of vulnerability.
No, when you were talking to you, I was like, I relate to you very well. But yeah.
I'm Jacob. I'm 27 years old, and I'm a trans man. So the relation with my dad and how unsupportive he is has been a challenge for me, but it's something that I've learned to grow past. And I encourage everyone that even if you don't have a parent who is supportive, to still be authentically yourself, because your life is meant to be lived for you. And I think that choosing my happiness above all else has made my life that much better, and I wouldn't change anything. Even though he wasn't supportive, I still wouldn't have him here.
Fuck yeah.
Listening to all your guys' points, I would definitely say, yeah, I did have a father figure. He was in the Marines, and he has this very toxic masculinity mindset. A lot of anger built up that I can definitely tell he suppressed, in the Marines, because that's what he was taught to do. That's what the Marines are about. He always
suppressing your emotions, something Brandon certainly said was good earlier.
Carried that with him, and I think that's what he tried to instill in me and my siblings at a very young age, which made it hard for me to be vulnerable with myself. And I just saw a lot of anger issues that were, very violent sometimes. And since coming out as trans, I feel like he's been more willing to understand me more and trying to figure out who I am as a person. And because of that, I feel like our relationship has definitely got a lot stronger since then.
I can't imagine how difficult it is to come home and then try to be vulnerable after suppressing so much pain and hurt for years. So it's good to hear that he's learning and kind of evolving and opening up. That's something where you guys are talking about vulnerability, right? And it's like,
what's really fascinating about this is a lot of these conservative guys started the conversation saying like, I would never validate trans people or whatever because it's fucking gay or whatever. Like they were like, not gonna do it, and they keep saying you guys the whole time, like you guys, yeah, you're a guy, you guys, fellas don't do that to a group of ladies, you know what I'm saying? So, not in the way that they're doing it, not as often as they're doing it. You might say you guys passively. It's always you guys.
Like there's times when it's good to be hard.
It's almost like when you sit down and talk to each other, you forget that you have some sort of political ideology and you just settle into whatever makes the conversation easy for everybody, and you actually don't want to offend people because you find out that being nice leads to like a fun and engaging conversation, and it turns out that you humanize the other person and you find out about their life. Whoa. These fucking guys, dude.
Hard.
I don't show emotion as much as I'd like.
Brandon is not going to sit down.
I definitely have sensed and noticed since transitioning that being on testosterone has made me cry less, which is very interesting because I believe that before I transitioned and started taking testosterone, I feel like not being able to cry as much, it makes me feel like, I'm like, damn, I wish I could cry right now, but it's not gonna happen. Hi, I'm Gibby and I'm a trans man. Before transitioning, I guess only presented as lesbian, but since transitioning, I've been able to be more comfortable with my sexuality. I've definitely seen on like dating apps and stuff, a lot of conservative men fetishizing trans individuals.
True.
And it's interesting because a lot of the time they say that they don't identify as gay or, within the community, and yet they're fetishizing my community.
Strange. I wonder why that happens. It's almost as if there's a little bit of a spectrum involved with sexuality, attraction, gender, and all of that, and sometimes our political ideologies don't line up with that when we're conservatives, huh? So you gotta do it in secret. Pretty rough, man.
So I don't know about you guys, but I always speak my mind if I feel.
By the way, it is if you're a guy and you have sex with a trans man, now it is gay. That is gay, actually, because that's two fellas, and that is to be celebrated.
A certain way I'll tell somebody, and that probably cost me a lot of relationships, but that's just how I am. So
I don't think there's anything wrong with, I know we talked about vulnerability, a long time ago. I don't think there's anything wrong with being vulnerable. I think, like we said, there's times and places for it. Knowing when it's okay to be vulnerable and being self-aware of that, and then, being strong when you need to, and being sad, when it's appropriate. But I certainly am not as vulnerable or not as emotional as probably I should, because
this guy comes across as crazy stunted, by the way, right? This guy is like uncomfortable as fuck.
It's not something that I always did growing up. I don't feel like I have any real issues like suppressing. I just feel like I kind of get it out in other ways.
Yeah, that's great you look at it like that, because I believe for me,
he's the least comfortable person sitting here.
Like my personal experiences, like because I was to transition at a very young age, and my dad being in the military, being a veteran, he would see me being vulnerable at times, and he'd be like, well, don't you want to be a man? And that would make me feel like, oh, am I not supposed to be vulnerable anymore? Now that I'm I'm going to transition, and it was just like very hard for me because, like I said earlier, it was hard for me to have that father figure at that time of my life.
My process of digesting emotions is by myself, and
that's not fucking healthy, Clarkson. Jesus Christ, Clarkson has some bullshit he needs to get rid of. Holy fucking shit. Being a gay conservative is fuck this guy right up. Every time he opens his mouth, it's like, buddy, are you good? He is not good. Clarkson is not okay. Sheesh.
Now, I use that time to self-reflect. So if I'm feeling angry or if I'm, feeling really passionate about something or whatever the emotion is, sometimes I pull back and I don't show that emotion because I'm reflecting on it and trying to understand why it's there. So I think a lot of times people can think men aren't showing enough emotion, but in reality, they're just self-assessing why that emotion is there in order to see what it's trying to teach us.
The only time I would agree with that is when it comes to an argument, not when you're feeling emotions or something. I don't find it to be very productive when you are feeling strong emotions and you're trying to argue with someone that you disagree with, usually a partner, and they're also feeling those strong emotions. There's no productivity to come from that conversation except sort of pissing each other off usually. So it does help to pull back, but that's not like a man thing. It's just like a people thing. So please, if you have problems, don't always internalize it. You can sometimes, for sure. Please don't always internalize your problems, fellas. I don't care how fucking manly you are or how Clarkson you are. Barack L., thanks for following. Therapy for Clarkson, yeah.
Right, I think when I was female, I was much more angry. I was just reactive, angry, like, "Grr." And then as I became a man, I cry more now as a man than I ever did as a woman. And I think it's because I'm at peace with myself. And so before I was just so angry about being a woman and everyone calling me she and seeing a girl and I was a fashion model. So that really just took it to a whole other level. And then once I became a man, it was like, whoa, I can actually relax. And I think I do the same thing. I self-reflect on myself. I want to be this type of man that is more vulnerable and that is more accessing my own emotions.
Thank you, everyone.
Right on. Thank you.
That was cool. That was cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jubilee. Always be like that. I mean, really what it comes down to at the end of the day is pretty simple. Trans people are valid, and they don't really need to meet any certain expectation. If you are a trans person and you identify as, I guess, however you identify, rather, I suppose, whether you're trans or not, is correct as long as it feels right to you. And that's really the only standard that needs to be met. That's the whole thing. It's a long-ass video. It really was. It was a long-ass one.